Thank you so much for staying here on News Today. Now, the coalition of textile workers say they are disappointed and saddened at government's inaction to revive their once vibrant textile industry. The textile industry, which formerly employed about 30,000 workers, now boasts of just about 5,000 employees across the country. The workers blame the situation on failure by government to institute control measures they agreed on to revamp the collapsing sector, which is struggling with issues such as piracy and smuggling. Joining me in studio, I've got two members of the leadership of the Coalition of Textile Workers, which comprises of GTP, Akosombo Textile Limited, Printex, Volta Star, formerly known as Drapon Textiles Limited, Michael Anglagman, who is Communications Director, and John Kofi Abeka Akan, who is Secretary to the Coalition. They are my guests. Thank you so much for coming. This is the third time I think I'm hosting you in a year and a half, and I'm just wondering, is it that you're not seeing any improvement at all with your talks with government, or it's not moving at the pace you want? Let me start with you, sir.
Well, I think that the pace at which we want is what we are struggling with now. We are not really, government always wants us to act before they start acting. The moment they see that we are silent and we are having meetings with them, then they also pause. Because we started having meetings after we had our first demonstration, and they put measures in place that were going to help to revamp the industry. But all of a sudden, because we stopped making noise and we are meeting on table, everything has come to a halt. And now people are smuggling more of the goods into the country.
Now, you say on the 10th of July and on the 25th of July, you wrote to the minister. Your concern has also been about the posturing of the ministry in responding to your letters and your desire to have meetings. Have you been told why it's so difficult to get access to the minister?
We don't know. Our letters have not been responded to. After our last meeting with him, that was November 2018. Since then, which a date was given, the 1st January 2019, there's going to be the implementation of the measures he spoke of. But then, since then, we've not had any meeting, and July we wrote several letters and reminders to him. There has not been response. We don't know why he's not responding or not refusing to meet us. We don't know what's going on.
The roadmap you agreed on has 7 points in there. One of them is a tax stamp, which hasn't been implemented.
No.
Okay. The last one, which is of interest, also especially because of what is happening, has to do with government establishing a procurement policy backed by legislation to ensure that all government agencies order their uniforms from the local industry. You're raising concerns about government's recent decision to change uniforms of junior high school students, and you say that government hasn't contacted any of the local producers to produce the material, and that it's importing this. You're really concerned about this.
The issue is we heard this, that government wants to change the school uniform for our junior brothers in the junior high school. So quickly we started upgrading ourselves and training our people to put ourselves in the position where we can print these uniforms. So the Ghana Education Service got us engaged in some of its meetings where we deliberated on the price to be sold, and they wanted the uniform printed and sewn as to be given to the
already made.
Yes, already made. So all these things were discussed, and then as the meetings were going on, we were outlining and also training our people, only for us to hear that the lunch fabric is in the market. And we were surprised because we have not been contacted as to
but you know that there are private individuals who can go order prints and bring them into the country legitimately. You don't fight that. It's pirating of your designs that you have problems with. So have you contacted the ministry, since you were already in talks with them, to find out, is this coming from you, or this is just a private person who's taking advantage of a business opportunity?
We got a hint of this. So it is in our last reminder to the ministry that we wanted to know where or how, what is happening. And then we have not had any response to it.
All right. You make some claims in your statement or your address to the press, and one of them is that you're saying that government is aiding foreigners and local counterparts to illegally smuggle counterfeit and pirated products of the few surviving local textile companies. Now, this is a huge allegation. Do you have any evidence to back this?
Well, it's an allegation, and once an allegation is always an allegation. But the facts remain the same. That
but you can't just make an allegation, because this allegation is very, straightforward, and it's emphatic, if I may say. So yes. I'm asking if you have any evidence.
And a critical example would just be the school uniform we are talking about as we speak. Because if there is no company locally that can say that I was contacted and that is my sample that was given and has been launched out, then it means that the ministry did their own thing to get this fabric into the country. Because as we speak, they were having meetings with the local industries, and we are expecting that one industry will say, whether ATL, GTP printers, that I have been contacted and this is the sample that I gave out. Anytime there is going to be a production, there should be a sample that will be given out. But the sample that was given to the ministry, we cannot tell where it's coming from. So if we cannot tell where it's coming from, now the Director of Education has stated emphatically that parents should go to the market and they can get this material.
And that's why because I remember in previous conversations with you, you told me that you don't have issues with private individuals bringing in fabrics, because even in your roadmap, there is a single corridor or port of entering for all imported textiles into the country. So you don't have issue with the importation of textiles. It's the pirating and smuggling. So I'm just asking, this fabric was not designed by a local person, and so if someone is taking advantage of a business opportunity.
So the records are clear. Can we go to the Temaport to check if this fabric that is in the market now came from the Temaport? But
the problem also is, which you raise in your statement, is that this roadmap has not been implemented. Is that not the bigger problem? Because you can't hold GES, for example, to any law, because we haven't established that procurement policy that's backed by legislation. So your bigger concern is that this roadmap has been neglected.
Yes, that is one. But one of the reasons why we are blaming GES was that, or is that, you have something which is large in that you want to change the school uniforms of these junior brothers. Where did you get the sample from? If you actually got the sample from outside these local textile industries, then we are right to say that you are aiding foreigners to engage in this smuggling and piracy.
Okay. So you would have wished that the GES contacted local designers to design the fabric.
We were in talks with them.
Okay.
Already.
And this is, let me just set the record straight. I want to understand what you're saying, because GES outdoored this uniform way before this month. It was earlier in the year when they held a press conference. So are you saying that prior to that press conference and the display of that uniform, you had engaged GES?
Yes, concerning the price and the modalities in which it will come out and all that. So we were aware these things will be, the uniform will be changed. We have upgraded our machines, we've trained people and all that.
So you were anticipating?
Yes, only for just go ahead and print it. Maybe 80 or print 2,000, maybe GTP print 1,000, print this. In fact, ATL was giving 17 million Ghana cedis as a stimulus package in order to upgrade themselves in anticipation of all kind of this.
And who gave that stimulus package?
Government itself. That's taxpayers' money. Okay. So now that such contracts are not given to them, how are they going to survive with this taxpayers' money given to them?
Let me come to you. There used to be a task force. You had men stationed in the markets. We saw some on our television. Some fabrics were burnt. You had people stationed at the entry points where, together with customs, your officials from the Textile Workers Union were stationed with customs officers to ensure that pirated fabrics were not entering the country or smuggled into the country. That task force was suspended. Has it been brought back?
Yeah, the task force was suspended and they were reassigned. They stopped them from entering the market, but rather assigned them to start going to the borders. And so actually we boycotted the next assignment that was given to the task force because we felt we were not armed and more professional to be at the borders to do that job. The professionals are already at the borders. They are doing the job. So at the end of the day, if they cannot do the job very well and the job comes to the market, that is when the task force go there to identify their designs, to check whether this design is a registered design by ATL, a registered design of GTP and has been pirated. So they seize it. But if you tell them to go to the border, at the border, what happens there? We have men already at the border checking the borders. So people still will have ways to bring the things into the country. When it gets to the market, then the tax force also attack it over there.
And that's why you want a single entry point for the importation of textiles into the country. I'll come back to finish up with you on the pointers of the roadmap that you agreed with government on. But Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Education, Professor Eko Vincent Asifo, has called on the public to dismiss claims of the importation of uniforms into the country.
The convention has been that, and I can say this to myself, especially when we were young, when you need a material or a school uniform to buy, you go to the market. The Ghana Education Service never provided any material or whatsoever to anybody before you could go and buy. The records tells me that Ghana Education Service or Ministry of Education has never awarded contract to anybody or whatsoever since time immemorial, before somebody or a student or a parent could go and buy a material. So it is the status quo that we are continuing. So with the introduction of the new uniform, which, Roland, is not compulsory. It is not compulsory for any school-going child who is going to school this academic year to go and buy the uniform if you don't even can't afford. No, it is supposed to phase out within some few years. And so if for the next 3 years, somebody is completing BEC today, or somebody just completed BEC and is now about to go to senior high school, that person is having a brother or a sister who is in basic 6, now going to junior high school 1. The junior high school 1 student could now go and take.
So you're saying it's an open market?
It's an open market for anybody.
So you announced a decision to do a changeover into a new school uniform structure.
Absolutely. And what we did was,
and you left it to the market.
Absolutely. What we did was that we showed the material sampling to the whole world, to the media. And when the Ghana Education Service Director, Professor Pukwa Mankwa, had that press briefing, he showed it to everybody. And in fact, it has been at the Ghana Education Service for anybody who so desires to even see or take a picture as to how it is, for you to go and produce it and sell, because the Ghana Education Service will not take responsibility for, poor production of such clothes or whatsoever. However, we are giving you the sample. We are showing you how we want it to be like. So anybody who wants to go and produce it and sell it to the parents or put it on the market, for any parent or
so
any
you left
student,
it to the market forces?
Absolutely.
That's Eko Vincent Asifo. Forgive me, he's not professor, but he spoke earlier on the AM show to Roland Walker. So let's wrap this up quickly. You heard him. He says, look, it's on the market. Anybody can produce it. Your concern is that you wish it had been brought to you to develop or design the sample in the first place. Moving forward, you're saying that the trade minister is not giving you audience. You've come out a number of times. Like I said, it's the 3rd time I'm talking to you. Are we ever going to see the textile industry revamped as you wish? And if so, how do you want it? Quickly, sir. Let me come to you, Anglaman.
What we are saying, or what we think the ministry, and for that matter government, should do, is the measures that we outline. Those things should be implemented. The government or the president, the leader of the country, has given his consent to all these things by the statement and all other speeches that he says. He has given his consent, but we don't know why his appointees are not acting according to what the president is saying. So we are bent on going to the extent of even getting to the president to know why these things are not implemented.
All right, thank you very much for your time. Michael Anglaman is with the Coalition of Textile Workers, and he is the Director of Communications, and John Akon is also with the same coalition. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Hopefully, the next time we'll have them, it will be good news about revamping Ghana's textile industry.